Medical marijuana licenses gives users the right to carry and smoke pot for the treatment of health conditions. But those licenses don't give users the right to drive high while on drugs. The legal experts at Jansen Alfrey say anyone, including medical marijuana users, can be charged with DUI if they're caught behind the wheel while high on drugs. Jansen Alfrey, attorneys at law, are members of the Colorado and Denver Bar Association. They belong to the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar and the National College of DUI Defense Attorneys, and they have no complaints registered with the Better Business Bureau. Molly Jansen and Kurt Alfrey join us today. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks.
So today we're going to be talking about drugs, and in particular marijuana. Now, have you seen an increase in crimes with marijuana-related crimes because of the dispensaries and because of the licenses that are being offered now?
Sure. I mean, when people think of DUI, usually they're thinking of alcohol. What the statute talks about, it's under the influence of alcohol and or drugs. So we've seen an increase of folks that have their medical marijuana license, but under the misperception they can actually drive after they've taken their medical marijuana medicine. And you can't drive under the influence of drugs or marijuana or Vicodin.
Right. So are you seeing an increase mostly on weekends, or is it, throughout the week now? I mean, because I think that DUI, and that's why we chose to do these Saturday segments, because a lot of people, quite honestly, are maybe getting out of jail right now and need to know what to do. Is there an increase now on the weekends like there was with alcohol?
I would say there's an increase overall.
Okay.
We see an increase in DUIs. We've been seeing an increase in DUIs anyway, especially since the law changed to a .08 standard for DUI. But I think particularly now that people have access to medicinal marijuana licenses, we're seeing an increase in people getting DUIDs. In other words, driving under the influence of drugs. Pretty much any time that we also see DUIs. So it's definitely on the rise because people think that they can smoke pot, drive around with it, and then not get a DUI for it, and that's not accurate. And now the law is changing, and so starting in the spring, we're probably going to see a law where it's going to be DUI for alcohol, DWAI for alcohol, and then DUID specifically for the use of marijuana and driving.
So when the police pull you over, if they don't smell alcohol, which is what they're trained to I guess, smell first, and you're acting funny, then they'll assume that maybe you're under the influence of drugs, and that's why they have a different test for that?
Yeah, under the influence of something else. If they detect that you're impaired by some sort of substance, whatever it is. There is other testing. There's certain tests that are to detect alcohol impairment, and then there's others for drugs, drug recognition tests. And I think what Molly was beginning to talk about was there are certain levels you can't drive with a blood alcohol of over .05 and .08 is a DUI. The legislature is working on a per se, is what they call it, level for marijuana in the system as well.
Got it. Now, people that have licenses and are allowed to carry marijuana on them, it's what, an ounce or less?
They can carry it on them, yes, if they have their medicinal marijuana license with them, but they have to have that license, otherwise they're going to run into trouble on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So we advise people who have a license, go from point A to point B. So go from your dispensary, go home.
Okay.
Don't drive around and keep it with you.
Right, and I would assume that a lot of people are under the impression that since these people are allowed to do it, I'm allowed to do it also. If you don't have a license, I mean, it's very illegal to carry marijuana on you.
You have to have a prescription for when you go to the pharmacy. You can't just walk around with prescription drugs without a prescription.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah. So you need to understand what the laws are. Otherwise, you're going to get charged, for carrying.
In general.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Now, with this, let's talk about children and drugs in the house. What happens? Let's say when because a lot of times when people are smoking pot, drinking too much along those lines, and children are present, you can get charged with many other crimes too.
Yeah, generally, if you're driving, and we've talked about this before on other shows, is if you're driving and you get charged with DUI or DUID, and your kids are in the car, you get charged with child abuse. Same with if you commit a crime in your home and your kids are present, if you've got a third-degree assault, domestic violence situation, your kids are there, you can be charged with that. Illegal drugs are bad, okay? Having kids in your house with drugs is bad. Like we always say, drugs and guns are bad, alcohol and guns are bad, kids and guns and kids and drugs. All of that together creates lots of criminal liability, which can be very bad.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you both for being here, sharing this information. Again, I want to reiterate what you always say. If you're going to be doing these things, just don't drive, and don't do it around the kids, because there's other
Exactly.
charges that can go along with it. So thank you both for being here. Certainly appreciate it. I'm going to tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.
Jansen Alfrey wants to ensure that you're represented fairly and informed about the charges against you before you make a bad decision. They're a criminal defense law firm. They handle everything from traffic offenses to domestic violence to DUI to major felonies. Call them at 303-297-3500 or visit their website at jansenalfrey.com. They offer free consultations. The number again is 303-297-3500. The Colorado Garden and Home Show opens in about an hour. Academy Roofing is celebrating their 30th year, and they're here to talk about all the great stuff they'll be offering at their booth. That's next on Haystack TV.